Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice every day and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. Today, we're talking about the spin. What happens when there's too much spin or not enough spin? If you review my whole fixes for in the air when they spin a lot, it's going to be a review of that because when we did the landing, we didn't discuss spin because we don't discuss spin. We're just on the landing zone because it's just where it is. Now it's how the dice react after it lands. And if it's spinning a lot, one's spinning more than the other, or they're not spinning too much, they stop spinning. What's causing that? What can we do to fix it? So before we do that, this is my 69th video. That means 3 weeks to Vegas. I am so excited. I can't wait to go. I've been doing very well throwing. When we get down to 10 days to go is when I'm going to start throwing. Well, I throw 36 every day, but I'm going to keep track of those 36. I'm going to really concentrate on those 36 every day for 10 days and get that 360 number so I can compare it to what happened when I did it 90 days ago. I can't believe it's been 69 days. I can't believe this is my 69th video. I'm very happy to all the people that listen to me ramble on and on and on. I appreciate it, and I hope you keep tuning in. I got some exciting stuff coming up on preparing for Vegas. What does that look like? What am I going to do? How am I going to get ready to go so that somebody that may want to be 3 weeks out wants to start their practice? What does that look like? So today, the spin. So what's causing the spin? Bottom line is you get a lot. When I'm throwing, I don't get a lot of spin. I don't try and create spin. If it goes around maybe 1.5 times in the air and lands, that's what I'm looking for. If it does a little extra switch or it doesn't spin as much, I'm not too concerned. I'm never really too concerned about spin unless, and I've seen this a bunch, unless you really see it spinning a lot like that and getting a lot of action. As you can see, that was a high spin, lots of things spinning. Once again, when we're talking about spin, people have different philosophies on spin. There are some people that believe generating a lot of spin will keep it on axis. A lot of people think that not having any spin will create a dead space. All of them could be true. I think having a little spin, a little back spin, it's going to cut some of that action out when the dice land, especially if they don't land flat. If the dice land flat, it's going to, a lot of the energy in and energy out is going to be dissipated. But if for some reason they land, which most likely they're going to land on the corner here, if they land together on the corner, the action, if it's really spinning, is going to force these to really fly. And we're trying to deaden the action and reaction part of this. A nice, slow, low angled throw, nice and gentle, so that they land nice, come up, down, and sit. You don't want a lot of action after they land. That's going to create randomness. It's going to create chaos, and that's what you're not looking for. So, in the case of a high spin throw, the bottom line on that is if it's really spinning a lot, it's all about this wrist and finger. It's wrist and finger action. Somehow you flicked it, your wrist moved. So when we're talking about upper body, right, when we're practicing on our bean bag, right, it's going to be this momentum. If you're videotaping and you see a high spin, look for that wrist. Did it move? All right. Did the wrist move? Or did the fingers move? Did you give it a little extra on your throw. That's what you don't want to do. So you get back to basics, just make sure it's just an upper body throw and not the wrist flicking. I've seen my buddies on Sundays that one of my buddies will, he, for some reason, he has a perfect throw. I love his throw. He's got a good action, but every once in a while, he flicks it. He just flicks it. And you can see the wrist because we're looking on the camera right at his arm. So he can't see it because he's looking down, but we're seeing that hand. It either the wrist does a back wrist flick like this, which you shouldn't be. The back should just be upper body backswing. It shouldn't be a flick backswing, right? Your wrist shouldn't backswing on the flick. Only your arm backswing for a 1 or 2 inches to give you the momentum to go forward. But if you're flicking, that's where you're getting a high spin rate. Easy to correct. Just make sure your arm is back to basics and your throw is just a regular arm throw and no wrist. Just keep looking at that wrist and making sure it does not move at all. Everything's coming out through centrifugal force. So that's the big spin. That's when you're going to get a big spin. If one's spinning more than the other, that's yesterday's video when one dice is leaving, so either your fingers or your pressure's off on one or the other, you're going to get a lot of spin, maybe too much spin, and you get that double pitch, the horrible double pitch. So go back on that video. Now, this is my other issue, and some people love this throw. When I get on a table, and I've spoke about this when we were talking about in the air issues, sometimes I over freak. So I'll see a big spin, or I see a really bad throw, or maybe I'm on a high roll, I'm not in my zone. And I know when I'm not in my zone because I throw this way. And I'm hoping my craps crew recognizes that and say, Phil, that was your placement throw. And I call it a placement throw because I'm trying to aim at something. I'm trying it. There was a bad reaction. They all went to the left. They all went to the right. We squeezed by. I'm still throwing, but I'm just not in my zone. I'm out of it. So I get back, and this is what I do. I literally look at where I'm trying to just do that. And it's almost like a knuckleball throw. My whole body heaves up, and my arm heaves. It's this whole directional thing. And it looks silly, but I'm so nervous to throw it that if I'm reviewing this throw again, the knuckleball or the placement throw is definitely something that I'm not happy about doing, and it's when I'm really nervous and I'm really like heaving my body up so that there's no spin. And if you're not having any spin with the dice, you're causing a knuckleball creation there, and that's something you don't want to have done when you're throwing on a routine basis. So my placement throw, what I call the placement throw, hopefully I don't do it at home, but I do it a lot at the casino, and I'm really looking to try and not do that when I'm throwing, because I'm usually really nervous, and then it gets less spin, and as you can see, the randomness is crazy. So what we want to do is the Goldilocks of throws. We don't want it to be too spinny, and we don't want our wrists doing that, right? Stiff. We don't want to be too light, no spin, because that causes a knuckleball effect, which will cause more mayhem and foolishness than you want. So you want it just right. The spin has to be back just a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 spins, so it lands, all the energy dissipates on that backspin, and then it sits nice and pleasant together. So that's the basics of our spin, right? Not too much, not too little, just right. And that's really up to you on what that looks like. What is the right spin for you in your throw based on your angle, based on your type of toss? It may not be the same as mine, but that's my 2 cents on spin and no spin. join me tomorrow where we're going to talk a lot about multiple issues. So you can go to these videos and pick out what happens if it's too much spin. What happens if one's in the air too high? What happens if I miss my target? Well, what happens if you do all of that on one throw? What do you do? How do you break that down? What do you do first? We're going to discuss all of that tomorrow. So join me tomorrow where we talk about multiple issues and what to do to get rid of them quickly. And as always, when you practice a lot, that is the best strategy to be able to throw for a long, long time.